guys, I'm Từng from IELTS Face Off, and today we're in Hội An, the old town located just a half an hour drive away from Da Nang. And as soon as I arrived at the location, I immediately fell in love with the place. I mean, it's really cool. Hội An is a relatively small town, but I guess the center of activity is in the pedestrian precinct where I am now with other pedestrians. And you know, everywhere you go, you're kind of very impressed by the overall architectural style, which harks back to a bygone era. And a lot of people also like Hội An for the tranquility, but I guess, you know, there's this sense of creativity that underlies its charm. And you know, everywhere you go on the sides of the street, you see tailors, you see, you know, food vendors alongside, you know, art exhibitions. So, you know, the locals really struck me as really creative individuals. Right? And today I'm going to bring you to a particular local, not exactly a local as we will soon find out, and talk to her about creativity. And this is going to be a very special guest, so stay tuned. Hello viewers, this is Từng, and this is IELTS Face Off Extra Talk, a special feature in which I'm going to invite special people to be on the show and talk a little bit about themselves as well as their journey in studying English and everything in between. And today we have a very special guest, and I think this is the youngest that we've ever featured on the show. So B, could you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yes, as Mr. Tung had said, my nickname is B, and my full name is Nguyen, and I come from Hanoi, but I'm currently living in Hội An. I'm a Year 5 student at Green Shoots International School. Yeah, and I'm a bookworm.
You're a bookworm?
I am.
All right. You have a lot of books on your coffee table, and we're in your living room, is that correct?
Yes. Well, it's kind of like a living room and a TV room at the same time.
All right, and it looks like a very artsy place. Are you an artful person?
No, I can't say so. My mom is more of an artist person.
What type of artist is she? Is she a painter?
She's a designer.
She's a designer.
Yes, she designed logos.
All right. And is there anybody else in your family that is artistically inclined?
Yes, my grandpa is an artist and he's an art teacher at the art school in Hanoi.
I think I knew that school on Irkil Street. Is that correct? All right. And I have here a picture of you and your grandpa. How old were you when you were in this
I think
picture?
I might be 3 or 5. I'm not sure.
3 or 5? Why not 4? And it looks funny because you actually look bigger than you are now.
Oh, that's because it's a close-up.
Oh, yeah. And can you tell me more about this picture?
This picture was probably when my grandpa was a little bit ill. It was probably in the winter. Yeah, my grandpa was really, I think he was talking about something like art or something.
Yeah, because he's an artist, right? He's a painter. Yeah. And did your grandpa have a lot of influence on you? I mean, you are a very creative person.
I guess when I was little, because I used to creep into his art room, and then I used to paint in there, like pictures that I would actually thought, I don't know what it means now.
So, what did you dream of becoming in the future when you were
When I was a little, I think I dreamt of being a makeup artist.
a makeup artist? Where's that from?
Because I just love applying makeup, and you can't imagine how carefully made eyeshadows and lips and faces could be. It's just beautiful sometimes.
That's a very intricate art, I'm sure, right? And do you still aspire to be a makeup artist now?
Oh, I don't think.
So what do you want to become?
I think now when I want to become a director.
A director. How prompt. And why do you want to become a director? Like director of like a TV series or a movie
A
or
movie or a TV series and things like that. Because I'm really good at imagining stuff in my head.
All right. So, you know, where did that idea come from? Because, I mean, you're a creative person, and there are a bunch of things that you can do with your creativity. But why directing movies?
I don't know where I have this idea from, but I love watching movies. But in some movies, there's just some mistakes that I think if they kind of fix it a little bit, then it'd be beautiful.
You spot some flaws in the movies that you have seen, and you want to perfect it, right? That's really fascinating.
Especially in some movies that are made in Asia, they're kind of too cheesy.
Cheesy.
Yeah, and it's not. And if it's an action movie, then it's way too action. Like if it's for kids, then it's kind of sometimes way too action that the kids might get scared really easily.
And you know, you're really a creative and imaginative person. I'm sure that your hobby of reading books has something to do with this. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so too. Since I started to learn English and to read a lot of thick books, I have this really passionate feeling to kind of just warm up my brain and actually put the book inside it and just imagine the movie, I mean the book, and imagine it as if it's actually happening inside my head.
So what is your favorite book? Which is the one that, you know, gives you this much inspiration? It's tough to choose from the selection that we have here, but
well, I don't think it's a tough decision to choose from these because I have a whole bookshelf and I just can't choose what to read next. But I'll show you my favorite one, which is right here. It's one that has lots of drawings, and it's called Farm Anatomy.
Farm Anatomy. What is it about?
It's about farms, and it has the weather and portable stuff and everything you want to know about in farms.
And it's sort of a very informative book.
Yes.
The purpose is to inform.
Yes.
Right? And it has a lot of drawings and illustrations as well,
Yes.
right? And is this are these what inspire you?
Yes, because if you just look at, for example, this little chicken, he looks like he has lots of details.
Yes, he does. I mean,
Even though it's like not so detail, but it's kind of like this detail that makes you want to have a look at the book.
yeah, it's the way that they dissect the different components of, you know, all these things.
And
on the
even though
farm.
they only use a few colors in the cover,
It's true. I didn't notice, but you know, the color scheme overall is really simple.
yeah, but even though that happens, it kind of makes you want to read more and more. It's like the sham art. They only have one color to choose from. And it's still like you can actually see what inside the picture. And you don't just see the picture, you are a part of it. I think I like this book because in this book, each page kind of have a base on colors. Like for example, this page, it's kind of like orange and red and, you know, those hot colors. And for this page, it's green.
Yeah.
And for the next page, it's like just yellow and things like that.
Yeah.
And then for this one, it's just all mixed up, and sometimes they just have all mixed up colors.
It's
and that's
true.
really nice.
Right. And which is the favorite page or section of this book?
My favorite one. It's
All
so
right.
good. Oh, here it is. I love horses. I'm not sure why, but I just love horses so much because this just looks like a really nice horse. Well, actually, that's not my favorite page. This is my favorite page, and yeah.
So it's the different horse breeds.
Yeah, and horses.
Can you show it to the viewers?
Yes, of course. These horses are just so beautiful. You can barely actually notice that they're just drawing. They look really 3D.
Yeah, it's fascinating because these are not photos, but these are drawings. And you know, they make the horse, you know, they make each species look very different, right? You know, they really pay attention to the smallest details, and I like that. So this one is about farming. What else do you like? Do you have any fiction?
Well, I do. I like one that's really fictiony. I really like Harry Potter.
You a Potterhead,
Yep.
kind of, right? And Harry Potter is a very long series.
Yeah, it is. But I must admit that I really like Hermione Granger. I like her even more than Harry Potter. I don't know why, but because Hermione is so much like me. She's so much of a bookworm. Or she's not like me that she likes to do all the work and everything. But I'm like a younger version of Hermione only.
I wholeheartedly agree, and that's the vibe that I got from you since I met you. I just couldn't, you know, quite articulate it into words, but you remind me of a character in a book somewhere, and that's definitely Hermione, all right? And okay, so Harry Potter, I have you. I think you have a bunch of children's books here. You like Dr. Seuss?
I do actually. He makes it really funny.
Why?
Because it's just funny. I mean, what would make you think of a turtle, a king turtle, that wants all the other turtles in his kingdom to make an armchair out of turtle for him? And then he has to sit on the top. And imagine that it's like sky high, and he looks all around, and then he falls down.
You're obviously very fascinated with, you know, many different types of books. And I'm curious as to who got you hooked on reading, especially all English books. Who was the person that got you started on this habit?
I don't think anybody started hooking me onto reading. I thought because my mom sent me to Green Shoots, and at that school I simply couldn't talk to anyone without English. So it's like fish swimming into the water.
Yeah.
Like if the fish came into the water, it has to learn how to breathe underwater.
Obviously.
Yeah, and it's just like me, because I had to learn how to speak English in order to communicate. And you know how much I speak.
And I mean, your English is obviously very good. It's almost impeccable. But it's weird though because you're very young. You're like 9 years old, right?
Yes, I am.
And I don't see any English textbooks on the table. And did you go directly into like these long books, or you know, did you study anything
Well,
before
I
that at all?
got long books, like for example, The Wizard of Oz, which is over there. When I didn't really speak at all English. And then I started learning English at school with the teachers and friends and everything, up to the day that I actually knew English enough to actually read The Wizard of Oz.
And was The Wizard of Oz like the starting point? Like, was it would you say that it's the easiest book that you've read?
No.
No.
I'd say Year to the Turtle was the easiest book.
Well, yeah, it's Dr. Seuss, so it's very children friendly, right?
Or Food Anatomy, for example. It's also...
Oh, it's another one in the series.
Yes, and the one under it, which is Nature Anatomy.
Oh man, these books are so cool. I gotta get it for my daughter. I have a daughter. Did you find it a bit of a struggle when you started reading, you know, very long English books without knowing much English at all? How did you cope with, you know, the amount of new words?
At my school, we didn't really have to learn the type of English that we didn't understand. So I was in the type of English that focused on learning English and not focusing on learning in English. So I actually learned English words instead of learning English and stuff like that.
You didn't really care much about, the new words that you encountered while reading.
Yes.
I mean, did
I actually knew for example, for maybe in the Half-Blood Prince, for example. Then let me just find a normal sentence. For example, and unfortunately, I know what "and" means. And this was perfectly true. I know exactly what perfectly true means. So I just had to figure out what it meant by reading the rest of the paragraph, which hopefully I'd know.
And I think from the linking words between sentences, you kind of get a sense of what type of words or new words in that sentence is, whether they're negative or positive. And I think that's a very smart way of learning, because oftentimes when we read English newspaper articles or books, we see a lot of new words, and most students would look up new words, which I think is kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, because by time you'd learn what words means without using Google. I mean, Google is just something that is too obvious. You can't actually use Google for anything except for research and things like that.
I agree.
Google is something that you'd simply be able to face life with that.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about books, but I am very interested in finding out what type of person you are besides books. What do you like to do in your free time after getting back from school?
This is what I do often. I'd come home, boil some water to make myself a cup of Earl Grey tea with just a spoon of sugar, and then I just curl up in the corner and maybe do something like play the piano or read.
You play the piano?
I do.
How long have you been playing?
For maybe half a year.
Half a year? So
Well, I used to play when I was in Hanoi, but then something happened and I stopped, and then I began last year again.
yeah, you picked it up again. And, so what can you play now? Do you play classical pieces? Or?
So my mom wants me to play a lot of classic, but I like easy classic. I like, do you know Ballade pour Adeline?
I don't know much about classical music, but please tell me more about it.
It's a piece that needs kind of like half of well, not really half, but 75% of the whole keyboard, because it takes a lot of space.
That's a lot of octaves, right? Lots of notes to cover.
Yeah. And I also play, you have to know canon in D, I suppose.
I can play canon in D on the guitar. And you mentioned a really interesting thing, that you're not actually from Hội An, you're from Hanoi, but you moved to Hội An. I mean, what was the reason for the transition?
I don't know, pollution?
Pollution?
Yes. There started to be pollution in Hanoi, and then since I went to Hanoi, I can barely breathe sometimes.
Really?
Well, I have often get my nose stuck in Hanoi.
I saw from your book that the goodnight stories for rebel girls, there are lots of activists in this book. And do you think, I mean, I know you wanted to be a makeup artist, and now you want to be a director, but is there any chance that you would have a crack at, being an activist in the future?
Yes, might be.
Might be. What do you think you'll do when you're 20 years old?
I'd probably do this. I'd probably work at a big company, maybe a lawyer company, if I'm 20 years old. And then every single morning, I'd maybe go to a cafe shop and have a peaceful cafe.
That's exactly the kind of lifestyle that I aspire to. And do you think you'll still be living in Hội An by the time that you turn 20?
Probably not.
Probably not. Why?
Because I feel that by that time, it would be one of the main tourist visited areas. So I don't think I'd be able to last here more than 15 years.
15. Okay, so you're
Well,
all right.
more than 10 years.
More than 10 years, maybe. And you're really fascinating girl because you're always changing. You're always up for something new, right? And I'm very excited for, you know, how the future unfolds for you, right? And I don't know, maybe one day I'll really, out of all of the dreams that you mentioned, I am most excited about the one about being an activist, right? So I really look forward to the day when you know, work as an activist.
If I am an activist, then I'm going to visit every single school in the whole Vietnam. And every single, you know, community schools. Because I've been to one of those once. It's horrible.
Why is that?
Because the teachers, they kind of beat the children just when you get the answer wrong. I mean,
Beat the children?
Yes.
With like rulers or with their hands? Or?
Rulers. Which is really hard. Well, I used to do that. Well, once I nearly went home. Well, you know, not the teacher sent me home, but I nearly walked home.
Yeah, and did it leave a bad impression for you? Yeah, and this.
Well, and also because, you know, mistakes makes better progress. So it doesn't mean that if you make mistakes, you're not good at doing something, or it doesn't mean that you're like a failure at doing it. That means, you know, you can take your mistakes from the last time that you did it and fix it.
I agree. I mean, you have a very active kind of spirit and mentality, and I'm just really excited for what you would accomplish in the future. All right. Wow, and I've had such a great conversation with B. I prefer to call you B. You mind?
I don't mind it.
All right. And I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation with this really fascinating girl as well. Thank you for tuning in, and please stay tuned for more interesting stories like this. For now, B and I are going to grab some dinner. So, see ya.
Hai chị cháu bye bye cho chị cái này. Hai bạn em vào câu cuối bye bye.
Bye bye.
Nhìn đây lượt con nhìn đây nè. Hai bạn bye bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.